All right, and once again, I do think we're live, board, and welcome to everybody.
Thank you.
Who's watching. Well, thank you, board. You're welcome. And to today's live stream, which is Multimarket and Multilingual storefronts. That's the title. So we're going to take a look on different challenges you can meet when you're trying to launch your storefront in a different region to a different market. And it's often different languages, maybe it's different currencies, market specific as basically product lists. So you have different products for different markets. And of course, market specific regulations.
Yeah. Well, what we like to talk about, those specific certifications and rules for the different countries, right? That's always interesting. Yeah.
So that's a bit about what to expect. So without further ado, board, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. So we're going to do this one reverse. So we're going to start with the results. So what do we want to achieve? And what we've done here is we've taken the good old furniture accelerator that we have, and we have created a localized version of this for the Norwegian market. So both in terms of, okay, it's different products, but it's also different layout, different landing pages. And it's basically, in this case, a subset of the products that are available on the Norwegian specific market. So this includes both being able to, translate to the local language. So everything from the storytelling parts to how you manage landing pages, and of course the products themselves, that they're in Norwegian currency and with Norwegian content, right? So this is now 2 different storefronts that are running on top of the same Crystallize instance, right? So we have the same products, but with different localized content, different pricing, and also a little bit different, storytelling and layout, because we wanted to make this a little bit localized towards the Norwegian market. So that was the end goal, and thank you for watching.
Okay. So I guess the question is, how did you set it up? And of course, you talk about 2 instances, so it means it's 2 heads connected to 1 headless instance, or a tenant in our case.
And so let's just switch to Crystallize. So this is basically our furniture tenant, which is a demo tenant here with some 10,000 products, I think it's in it. But here we have a subset that we focused on, just to make it simple for this example. So basically what we have done is we started at the top, right? So we have the setup here for with our blocks, right, to manage landing pages. So this is where you define the picture grid, etc. And we've created a Norwegian version of this. So it's a translation, which is not only the content, because it's also different structure. Since this was a new market we launched, we wanted to make a test with a subset of all the storytelling that we have on our main market, so to speak. So that's kind of the first one. This is more, I would say, on storytelling CMS side of things, if you want to use those abbreviations. But we have also worked with a subset of the content, of the products. So we have here some plants, and we'll get back to pricing, but you see that you have pricing for in euro, so for the European market, and we have pricing in Norwegian kroner. And if we look at the actual products and how they're set up, it's the good old Monstera that we have seen a few times in different streams we've had.
finally selling that in Norway as well.
Yes, right. So now we wanted to push this to another market. So it's both the localization of the actual product itself, and then again local prices, where we're basically using on the first level the price variance. But let's get back to pricing. And there's different things to talk about here, but one of the things that we find is a pretty neat kind of helper is to use AI assistant directly in Crystallize to, let's say, in this case, translate from English to Norwegian, use a cool kids language, because that's what you want to do. Yeah. Right. So that was a translation. And it was a cool kids translation for those that understand Norwegian, right? So this is kind of the setup that we have achieved, right? So we have been translating, but also changing structure. There's some one-to-one content like images that are the same. We have some content and structures that are different. So this is kind of the end setup that we did, but as you said, we're doing this in reverse.
So what you're saying is that you can have localized content, and I do think a main takeaway here also is that you don't duplicate your product just for a different region. It's the same product, just different language and different price variant. But in terms of that, because we're always fond of talking about not duplicating content, and that also means when you get into the model itself, if it's some data that you need to reapply over and over again, maybe that should live as its own entity in the tenant. Speaking of content models, Bård, how is all this set up?
Glad you asked. So we've done some changes to the default data model that is with furniture, this accelerator that we have. And if we start with the landing page, we have done one big change. We've added this checkbox. We haven't added it, but we have switched the value of it. So we set it to localized structure. Now, you don't have to do that to translate. What it means is that you can have different blocks on different markets. And you often want to do that because in our example, maybe you launch a new market and you want to have a subset of the products, but maybe you also want to have a subset or different storytelling or different structure, right? So that's why we localized the structure so that we can have, as we saw, different blocks for the Norwegian and the English version of the landing page. So this is kind of the first step. The other thing that we have been looking at is the product itself. Now, in this case, we have basically the possibility of having localized content by default. So we haven't really changed any settings, even though we could, particularly, I would say, on the story, because by default with what we call the paragraph collection, so header, rich text, images, and videos in a repeating structure, here you can do the same as with the blocks, the multiple choice component, where you can localize the structure. Because maybe in English you have 3 paragraphs with a lot of content, and in Norwegian you just want to have 1 paragraph and 2 images. And maybe the images should be different. So this is what you can configure here with being able to localize different parts of the paragraph collection. So that's kind of the base setup, where you, on a per component level, you can choose how it's going to behave in a multilingual and multi-market context, basically.
Because I guess there's often things that you don't want to translate as well, which is of course an option here. that you decide what content needs translations. If you have an identifier in there, you probably don't want to translate that for every language. And that's, once again, comes back to, you don't want to have to do the work to copy pasting that to every language.
Properties like dimensions, for example. You don't want to localize those. Typically, you can if you want. Because it could be things that are market specific, like voltage, 110 versus 240 volts on products. And that brings us into kind of another example where, let's say I have a product here, which I do, Smeg Robot. And this is available now in different languages. So I have the Norwegian version and I have the English version. And basically on this one, I've set up a combination of shared properties and unique properties per locale, right? So we have here example of shared properties like allergens, right? So if I edit this and switch the language, we see that the allergens are the same, but they're translated. So this is the same content, the same structure, but different languages. That's a good win. But what we like is like digital passport data, for example, or local regulations, specifications, what do you call it? HMS type of data, things that are following the local laws, basically.
On a higher level, I would say that Europe has some more regulations than, in example, the US, that different things that you need certificates for than the US. So if you have a storefront in the US and the EU, you might need different market-specific regulations.
Yeah,
basically.
And like here we have set on the English, we have environmental impact data, but we don't have that in Norway because that rule hasn't been adopted yet in Norway. But in EU, you have that rule that you have to have that information on products. So this is kind of a combination of, yes, you can translate, but you can also have different structured content or different properties. And this is quite powerful. And the way we've done that is basically here, you see that we have the product details. It's a unified structure. It's the same across all translations. But the digital product passport data, it's localized, right? So this means that the structure of allergens is the same, but digital passport data is different because it's localized. That doesn't mean that I cannot translate the allergens, because as we saw, and of course we know that the stand mixer doesn't have allergens, it's just a data model, for example. And of course you can translate it, but it's structure versus language, right? And you want to be able to manage both, because you have some scenarios you need just to translate the text. A good example is with images. Do you want the same image in different markets? Or do you just want to translate the description and alt text, for example? So you can choose, and it could be with some good examples here. If you do Australia and Norway, you might want to have beach weather when we have snowy images in Norway, right? Maybe you want to merchandise different product for the different markets because of different seasons or different temperatures in the different regions.
So basically it is you decide what you want to share between languages. It can live as almost its own entity, or it shares some components cross market, across regions.
Yeah. So that's and that's kind of the foundation and the decisions you do when doing the data modeling for Multimarket. Is, do we want the landing page to be the same? Do we want to have the same type of blocks but translated, or do we want to have the flexibility to make them different? And there's no right or wrong answer, because it depends on the use case, what you want and how you want to do the marketing.
like use cases, of course, like we always say, a recipe should share the same number of steps, maybe, what you need to do when cooking, while just a blog or a story can have different amount of paragraphs.
Good example.
Good example.
Good
Okay.
example.
Good example. Time to look at some pricing board.
Okay. So I like this diagram that we made, Didrik.
Good job, board.
Yeah, thank you. Basically, we have layered pricing in Crystallize. So we have the first level, which is the price variance. And in the example here, we have just one market. So you kind of have to double up this for each of the markets that you want to define. So think about this as a layered pricing, right? Because this is for, let's say, the European market. We have a retail price in euros, we have sales price, and we have a fallback price. That's how kind of Crystallize by default picks the pricing. It will check, okay, do I have a sales price? Then use that, and then compare it is 40, so you get like a strikeout price typically. And if you haven't set the sales price, it will fall back to the retail price. So this is the same price in this case. But on top of this, we do have the price lists, right? We did in our previous live stream, we did dive more into price lists and promotions, and also how you could do customer-specific price lists and group-specific price lists. But basically, you can have price lists on top of the sales price. If you want to adjust the price for a particular market and a particular time period. And that is useful for, of course, for like B2B pricing or customer pricing, as we showed. You can also use it for, let's say, I want to define the first and the second quarter prices for Norway. Maybe you want to have pre-planned price adjustments, and then you can have price lists that kick in on the different time periods. And of course, on top of this, once you have created your catalog price, so base prices with a variance, price list on top of that, Crystallize picks the best price. And you can also have promotions on top of this, like a coupon-based promotion or a 342 trigger if you want to provide that. So that's kind of the pricing structure here. Let's take a look at the setup we've done here in this tenant. So if we go to the right tenant, furniture, and then we take a look at the prices themselves. By the way, this is also the languages where we have defined Norwegian and English, as we flipped in the menu and you saw, but this is where you configure that. Prices and languages and markets are not directly connected, right? Because you might have English in Canada and English in the US. It might be the same English. You also have French in Canada, yes, but you can reuse the English, but you want to have different pricing, right? Canadian dollars versus US dollars. So what we've done here is we have the prices for what we call the European market in this case, where we set euros retail and euros sales, which is best practice to do with Crystallize. So you have that compare at price. And then we did the same for Norway, retail Norway and sales Norway. Now, your naming will vary based on, are you selling B2C? Are you selling B2B? Do you have a combination of this, or any preference in terms of naming conventions? But basically, we have set up these for price variants. We also have a membership, but that's not for now. That's a different story altogether.
Sorry.
And on top of this, we have then, just to show how that will look, right? So we took a look at the international pricing here for the Monsteras, where we have the European price in euros and the Norwegian price in kroner. And this is, of course, where you change the list price or the main price of the products. So this means that we can reuse the same product information, same images and everything. We just define the prices for all the different markets. But you can do more, right? Because we can have differentiations of this pricing within a subset or within the market itself. It could be that you have a European price in euro, but maybe you want to differentiate and say that in the Netherlands it's a little bit cheaper than in Germany, for example, or vice versa. You do you. But let's see how we can also utilize price lists, because as we saw in the previous stream, yes, price lists are super useful for, I want to give Didrik a special offer.
Thank you.
But it's also useful for, let's say, Norway 2025 pricing. So like a price book, maybe Q3 even, right? So a quarter. And I want to then be able to adjust the sales price in Norway. Let's do percent. 10, maybe minus also. Minus 10%.
Just for inflation.
Yeah, right. So maybe it's just 5%. Yeah, quarterly inflation. That's probably approximately where we are in these days.
In these days.
And I can also say that this is for the Norway market, right? So you can define different markets, and you can even go further, right? Like we saw in the previous stream, you can tackle specific customers or customer groups. That's not what we're doing here. We're setting a market price for Q3. And you can also then define the periods. So let's say I want to do from 1st of August on 1st of August, and then I want to do until, I don't know,
31st of October.
Yeah, something like that. This is actually not Q3, but don't tell anyone.
Ish.
That was not the point.
You set a period. That's the point.
Yeah. You set up the dates as it fits you. And then what you can do is, I can do it on the whole catalog, on every product. You don't have to define a subset, but you typically want to do that. So here I'm just doing, I'm doing the good old plants. And here we see that we have new market prices that are defined for Q3-ish with the 5% discount. And then you can continue to create different price lists for different markets, for different periods. And you can also stack them so that you can have several price lists that are active for a particular period. And you can also do like subset or sub-market pricing, where you want to give all of the existing customers or members additional 5% on even smaller selection of products, or the whole catalog. You do you. So that's kind of how you can combine then the different structure for landing pages, different languages for landing pages, same for products. You can either translate one-to-one or have different, as we saw, certifications or different ingredients. If it's like a cooking recipe, right? You might have I don't know,
different brands for different regions.
Yeah, or corn syrup in the US and proper sugar in Europe, for example. So there are reasons why you want it to be different for different markets, and it means that before you do the data modeling, you kind of have to know how the rules and regulations work for the market that you're going to launch in.
Also, how you want to work with your content in general.
True.
Also an important part.
Marketing is important, or storytelling as we call it. Yeah.
All right, enough UI board
You
So
don't like the UI?
Oh, I've seen it multiple
Beautiful
times.
UI. I wonder who designed it, Didrik.
Yeah, I wonder as well. That guy knows what's up. But anyhow, when creating the storefronts, yes,
You want to
API.
see some APIs. And it's like we say, and for the developers.
And for the developers.
So Crystallize is headless, right? So obviously the storefronts are built on top of Crystallize. Two storefronts here. But it's using the APIs. And basically, just to show very simplified. So here I'm fetching an English product list. So everything on the product's plans on Stera. And with English content. And I can choose also then to fetch a different language. Boom. And then I have this in Norwegian and returned in milliseconds. So this makes it super simple as a developer also to get out all of the different translations. You can also get price for example, sales price. I can get that out, and this will then pick price for example, price variant 4, where you will be able also to define an identifier for the particular price variance that takes into account the price list pricing also. So here I could do the sales price, and it will take the sales price and apply any price lists that are applied there. So both being able to get all of the different pricing and the languages directly in real time from the APIs. That's kind of what you get as a developer. Yeah.
So like I said, in this case where you have two different instances, it's different configuration on the instance, what kind of price variance you're fetching for each of the regions. Once again, that's a choice, because you might just have one with the locale in the URL, like crystallize.com/NONB or something, and then you would probably do it in another way.
Exactly. So again, you do you. So what you're saying is that you could have a prefix in the URL that defines the market. I know a lot of brands that do that. Others do different domains for different countries. There's brand recognition or brand, it feels more local if it's got a .no or .de domain, right? And there's SEO implications, and that's a different type of strategy to make that choice. But that's what we did in this case. We spun up two different storefronts using the same backend.
And the beautiful part is you're managing still the same catalog, always. It's just different languages on top of that again.
Yeah. There's no duplication of data whatsoever, right? And basically gives you faster time to market. So you can create a new market with less effort. And you can use AI to help you translate, for example. But also you get the consistency of the product experience so that you kind of can share everything that is common, but still have that local flavor. If it's rules or if it's local images, or depending on what you want to switch. And then also it's easier for the whole team to work together, right? So that you have marketing and a product team working on the same setup with different rules and roles and permissions, right? Maybe Didrik only can edit in Norwegian and I can in English. Maybe only a subset of the components, yeah. Or maybe just your prices.
The price variance.
Yeah.
That I don't see his prices and he doesn't see mine.
Yeah. Of course, I can go on your website and see the prices if it's public, but yeah, still, you often want to lock it down. Yeah. Cool. That's it. That's how we can launch a multi-region, multilingual, multi-pricing storefront on top of Crystallize is pretty, I'm going to say easy to do, but of course there's a lot of decisions and a lot of setup. So if you're in the situation where you are looking to launch in multiple countries, ping us and we're happy to join for some modeling sessions and some architectural sessions. That's something we do a lot with our partners and clients. That concludes this live stream, Didrik.
Beautiful. Nothing like a video of some plants at the end. Thank you all for joining. As always, I've been told to say subscribe. Thank you all.
See ya.